Welcome to Real Talk Fantasy Baseball, the live edition. Give me just a couple minutes. I'm going to try to go live on Instagram as well.
What's up, everybody? Let's talk some fantasy baseball.
All right, nice. We are live on Instagram. What's up, John? How you been, man? I haven't seen you in a cool little minute. You weren't here last week. How was vacation?
Vacation was spectacular. Very relaxing. We were down in Charleston, South Carolina. Not baseball down there. There is some minor league baseball, but I was able to catch them on TV on the beach a little bit, so it was really nice.
Nice, man. I know you're not going to have a lot of time for vacation plans coming up because we got little baby Murrow on the way. When's the due date, man?
Yeah, buddy, October 16th. So we're expecting our first boy. We actually had a little conversation of what position he's going to play. I'm going to guess a 6'3" pitcher, thinking Texas Rangers. Would love it for it to be the Phillies, but we're not in a perfect world. But obviously, I'm just having fun.
Oh, hopefully he gets your height, man, because what are you, like 6'5"?
6'5", but we know he's probably going to be a better fantasy baseball player than a real baseball player. But
I don't know. We'll see, man. Only time will tell, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we got a full docket on today's show. We got honor among surging pitchers, waiver wire must adds, all coming up on Real Talk Fantasy Baseball. All right, and welcome back, everybody. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to our channel. We would very much appreciate it. So, John, I'm glad you had some relaxing time, and now we're about to get back to business. So let's see if we have anybody in the live yet. No one there yet. If you have any questions, if you're in the chat today, go ahead and ask away. We are here for all your fantasy baseball questions, or if you just want to have a baseball conversation, we are here for you guys. And we have three pitchers that have been overperforming, to say the least, the last few weeks. So we have Sean Manaea. Manaea has 7 quality starts in his last 9 tries, dropping his ERA from 3.74 down to 3.35. Sean Manaea is enjoying a career year, a career low ERA, career low exit velocities, meaning he's inducing a lot of soft contact. But even so, Manaea is having a very mid-season, 3.43 ERA, 3.88 expected ERA. Strikeouts per inning is slightly above 1. Highest walk rate of his career. Now this season, Manaea has gone back to the sinker as his primary pitch, where he shied away from that the past couple of years, probably because he moved from team to team. He went from Oakland to a couple of different teams, and now he's in New York with the Mets. And he basically ditched that the last 2 seasons, the sinker. But in the last couple months, Manaea has drastically increased his sweeper usage, making it his secondary pitch. And it seems to be the secret to his success this season, especially in the last couple months. In April and June, Manaea threw a sweeper about 15% of the time, and he's gradually increased the usage up to 26% in September. That's a big jump, man. And okay, John, you were a pitcher. How hard is it to not only introduce a new pitch, into actual game times, but also to increase the usage to be a full quarter of your whole arsenal?
I mean, it's a huge, it doesn't sound like a big deal, especially if you may have, he may have already had a half decent sinker. It's just more the effort and the time that it takes to really perfect that pitch and feel confident throwing it all the time. So, as you get older, stuff just doesn't work the same. And that goes for whether you're a professional baseball player or not. And, these guys, professional baseball players, especially for the most part, are no longer spring chickens. These guys have been in the league for 5, 10 or more years. And Manaea is one of them. He's been around the league for, since 2016. So you're going to learn and you're going to adapt in time. You're going to lose a couple miles an hour and you have to do something different to make the ball dance. So him introducing this this sinker and using it more often has certainly allowed a lot more ground balls, and it's working for him. And even when you had mentioned that this is his career year, I mean, that's kind of fascinating. And just looking through, his numbers in Oakland, I mean, he was good in Oakland. I think Manaea was a bit overrated. I think that's fair to say.
I agree.
But, he's never going to be a Cy Young candidate. He's never going to be a top, 1-2 pitcher in your rotation, but he can be a reliable guy for you down the stretch. And I think, this 3.43 ERA is probably the best you'll ever see out of Sean Manaea again, but that's okay. And this is a guy you can rely on, especially down the fantasy stretch. And he's been good. He's been, like you said, mid, but Manaea is a mid pitcher.
Yeah, and I wonder if this is something that he kind of came up with on his own, or, going to a different team now, if the Mets coaching staff, if they just kind of noticed something in his delivery or in something. So I actually I was watching the game the other day, and one of the announcers had said that Sean Manaea, when the Braves were in New York, he was kind of just sitting on the bench watching Chris Sale pitch. And that actually completely changed like his outlook on his arm slot. So he usually would have a 3/4 arm slot, which is a little bit higher angle than Chris Sale is. Chris Sale is basically almost a sidearm pitcher, and Sean Manaea kind of mimicked that whole movement. And that's actually what started all this change for him, and is kind of been why he's been successful. You can actually see a pretty dramatic drop if you see the video. It's like about a 4-inch drop that you can tell with his elbow. So I'm wondering, like you being a pitcher from before, how much of a difference does that arm slot actually change, spin rate or direction of the way that you throw the ball, or even just being able to have more control of the ball?
Yeah, and that when I was a pitcher, I mean, that was something I focused on a lot. Specifically, I had a really nice slider and curveball. I never, threw anything above, honestly, 88. Maybe even not even that high. I was never I'm a tall guy. I could throw hard, but I didn't throw fast. But I had some nice sweeper and, curveball, off break or off speed stuff. So you do change the arm slot for a little bit with that. And that's where there's a fine line. And that's what Manaea, is getting away with now, is that there's a fine line when you're introducing something new. Guys haven't adjusted to it yet. So that's part of what everything you're talking about, him taking this from Chris Sale and applying it. Guys are focused on tape from Manaea from Oakland, from his earlier days in New York, and they're not prepared for this. So when you introduce something like this, all guys have to catch up to it. So there's a lot of pitchers that'll probably take a lot of things from Chris Sale's season, and how can you improve and just change one little thing? If you can do it and your body can handle it, it can really have a lot of effect for you.
And Chris Sale is definitely one of those pitchers that you could definitely learn a lot from, man. He's had a lot of injury history, and that's kind of derailed his whole career. But this season, whoever thought that we would see 200 strikeouts from Chris Sale again? I didn't.
And the fact that the Red Sox are paying for it too, literally paying his salary is just, and that Vaughn Grissom is a disaster up in Boston. I mean, you can't feel bad for Red Sox fans, but you got to feel something for Red Sox fans. I mean, they got the best years out of Chris Sale, but his resurgence year this year, there's going to be a lot of guys mimicking and trying to figure out how he got to this level. He's going to win Cy Young this year, and he's finished top 5, 7 times throughout his career, never won it. For him to win it this year is just unbelievable.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, I'm actually excited for Chris Sale to win that title after all these years,
Whoa. He can win a Cy Young. He's not winning any titles, championships. He's still on the Braves.
That title of Cy Young. My bad. Little miscommunication there. But okay. So there is something I kind of want to bring up, because we brought up Chris Sale, is the Phillies are in the same division as Chris Sale's team, the Braves now, and the Braves have had so much bad luck this season. And it seems like Chris Sale and Marcell Ozuna have really been the only 2 bright spots in that lineup. Imagine what they would have been this season if they still had Ronald Acuna, if they still had Austin Riley and Ozzie Albies and Michael Harris for the whole season. And Matt Olson actually contributing to what he's been doing the past few seasons instead of just batting, 230 with like 22 home runs so far. Like this completely changed the landscape of the National League East. And I know the Phillies are definitely reaping the benefits of that. The series against the Braves would have been a lot tougher. The Phillies have a great team. There's no doubt about it. But I think it actually might be a little bit of a disadvantage for the Phillies not being able to play those tough teams throughout the season on a regular basis, because that's how you prepare for the postseason. If you play these weaker lineups that don't have the Acuñas and Austin Rileys of the world, then you're kind of just going to get a little complacent, maybe a little bit lazy, and then you go into the playoffs and then you're facing these like all-star lineups. And look, that's what happened to the Dodgers last year, man. Other than the Diamondbacks, the National League West is full of just trash, and you could say the Padres, are also in the hunt for like a wild card, but I don't know. It's on paper, I feel like the Padres look a lot better than the Diamondbacks do. You see all the names, but I just feel like they can't put it all together. I don't know if it's just as an organization or management or leaders in the clubhouse, maybe Machado, or has something to do with that. I don't know, man. But what are your thoughts on that?
I guess to quickly hit on that, and I do want to get back into surging pitchers and hot bats, but I do want to quickly ask you, have you ever actually been to a playoff baseball game in Philadelphia?
Yes. No, I have not.
So the Phillies have certainly taken their foot off the pedal for these past, let's call it 2 months. They've been sliding a little bit and just kind of coasting, I guess is the better word. And you see teams like the Mets that are fighting for their lives and doing what it takes. Home field advantage is when the playoffs come. The Phillies have by far the best home field advantage. And I do agree that, yes, you want to face the best competition to be prepared for when that comes. But there are certain things that in the postseason just don't make sense that in the regular season should make sense, but just the same rules don't apply in the postseason. It's a different ball game. And the same goes for fantasy baseball playoffs too. I mean, I went a little bit, and it's just you can't approach anything as if it's the regular season. It's a totally new, different ball game. Things that have a huge impact on that is whoever's the healthiest. So even if the Braves do make the playoffs, I don't expect a deep run. I do think they would get knocked out in the first round. I could see a place like Milwaukee. I know they have a rocking atmosphere. That plays a huge portion of that. Philadelphia is no joke. I've never been to LA, but I don't know that your fans have the ability to get excited enough for a playoff game when they're an hour late to it because there's traffic. So I don't know. It plays a big part to it. We'll see what comes of it, but it's real.
It is real, man. It's real for the Phillies and it's real for the Dodgers. So you got a couple excited fans over here, man. I feel like both teams pretty much have a lock on their own division. And I think the Phillies are going to be fine in the division series. The Dodgers are going to be fine in the division series. And then I think we're both going to see each other when it comes to the National League Championship Series. But we're going to save that for a postseason show. Let's go ahead and get back to Sean Manaea. So Sean Manaea, in the past couple seasons, he's mainly relied on his fastball 56% of the time, and he has completely changed that, as we mentioned before, and he's actually throwing the sinker 60% of the time, even more than he was throwing the fastball last year. So like you mentioned, he's getting a lot more ground balls, and he's kind of just become a new pitcher. We've seen that from other guys too, like Clayton Kershaw that used to throw 95, 96 that can really only hit like about 90, 91 on the radar guns now. So, he introduced a changeup, and you become more of a pitcher rather than just a thrower. When stuff like that happens, when you get a little bit older, you learn how to pitch, and they're actually calling Sean Manaea the ace of the Mets now. And I don't know if I would necessarily call him an ace, but if he is the best pitcher on the Mets staff, I guess you kind of have to call him the ace, and I don't know. In his most recent start, he gave up 4 runs against the Reds, but he also had 9 strikeouts with 19 swinging strikes. So this is actually before yesterday's start, of course. He had 5 swinging strikes on the sinker, 8 swinging strikes on the sweeper, and 6 on the changeup. Then Manaea follows up this start with a great start against the Blue Jays yesterday, allowing 1 run on 4 hits, 4 walks. That's a little more than I'd like to see, but 8 strikeouts in 6.2 innings. Dude, these strikeouts are kind of coming out of nowhere. The swing and misses. I think this is really what's kind of elevating Manaea's game this season. You even mentioned Manaea a few weeks ago, maybe even a couple months ago, how you were kind of saying, like, I like what I see in Manaea right now. And I think that this might be a guy that I actually want to hold on to for the rest of the season.
Hold on to him, sure. He's in a very important race, so that plays a huge part to it. He's got something to fight for. I'd have to also look and see if he has a contract to fight for, but no doubt he's got a position in 2025 to fight for regardless in that rotation. So I like Sean Manaea. I do want to move on to the next guy I want to chat about, and that's Michael. I'm going to leave your boy. I know you want to talk about Mr. BF, but Michael Wacha is another guy you should all have on your radar right now. And if you have not looked into Michael Wacha's season numbers this year, it's absolutely fascinating. So Kansas City, it's been a rebound year for I'll say their entire rotation has been kind of surprising. So Michael Wacha right now, 3.34 ERA, 21% K rate to a 6.5% walk rate, which is pretty nasty. And generally, Michael Wacha has a very good first half and followed by a very average second half, if you will. But this season, we're seeing the exact opposite. So the first half of the season, Wacha produced a 3.83 ERA compared to a 2.63 in the second half. And there's a couple of things that can explain what is going on in the second half and why they're having success. So number one, Royals being the team in the second half, or one of the teams that have been really positioning themselves for the next they're hitting the next level. They're going to be, I'm not going to say they're going to win the World Series or anything, but they have entered the conversation of being a serious contender. So Michael Wacha introduced, part of that is Michael Wacha being in this rotation, along with guys like Seth Lugo and the emergence of Cole Reagans and so on. But Michael Wacha this year, his first season with the Royals, introduced an 86-mile-per-hour slider. And with that, he has the 375 batting average against, but with a 40% whip rate. That shouldn't matter as a whole lot. He only throws it 10% of the time, but he's posted the lowest exit velocity of his career, 86.9 miles per hour, a lot more soft contact. And since 2020, Michael Wacha's fastball has an exit velocity between 91 and 92 miles per hour. And this season, he's at 88.8 miles per hour. So guys aren't getting hard contact. He's allowing them to put the ball in play. It's the same thing that the Royals have had all season with Seth Lugo. Put the ball in play, let your young defense make the play. No problem with that. So these guys hit the ball a little bit. A single double is not going to kill you. Maybe the occasional play, a lot of softer contact. That's something you want to see right now. So this is a guy definitely down the stretch could make another big impact for your fantasy run, and he's available.
So I've had Michael Wacha on my fantasy team in the past, and I don't know how you feel about guys that have burned you in the past, but I especially have a little dark spot in my heart for Michael Wacha because of the times that he's burned me in the past. So I don't care how good he's doing right now. I just don't trust the guy. I feel like he's a little bit on the older side. You know, he's been around for a while now, and I just don't trust the type of improvements that he made. I mean, he's kind of solid. He's always been kind of solid. He's always been the type of guy to get like a 3.50 ERA with a decent amount of strikeouts, you know. But I don't know. I feel like maybe he just got drafted by the wrong team or just stuck with the wrong team for too long. Sometimes that change of scenery is really what a player needs, whether it's a hitter or a pitcher or whatever. Like Willie Adames, man, when he was with the Rays, and he said he could not hit a ball in Tropicana because the batter's eye was just messing with his eyes, you know, whether it's the height of him or like the position that he had his head or whatever. He did not feel comfortable. And then he goes over to Milwaukee, and now all of a sudden he's like, you know, top 10 to 15-ish shortstop, you know, versus like a top 20 shortstop like he was in you know. So change of scenery can definitely do a lot for certain certain players, and I think maybe this could possibly be for Michael Wacha. You know, moving over to the Royals, a winning team right now, has a lot of young talent plus a lot of veterans in the clubhouse that are doing some things. You know, and I think the Royals are going to be able to maybe not necessarily push out the first place spot, but I think that they're definitely in contention for that wild card spot. I think that they could actually be one of the favorites to get a American wild card spot.
I like the Royals, man. I'm not going to say they're going to win the World Series, but in the ALCS, I would not be shocked at all. I think Bobby Witt can get super hot, and you just need a couple guys to get hot behind them. So real quick, props to Mr. Brian Sweeney, pitching coach of the Royals, for putting together that rotation so far. I mean, I never in my dreams would have expected Seth Lugo to keep this going all year. For a guy like Michael Wacha, you know, you talk about guys that have burned you. I remember him greatly in St. Louis. I thought he was going to be I thought he was the guy. He looked so good his rookie year, and even I think his second year he was good, and he just never got there. But as far as guys that have burned you in the past, I mean, look at a guy like Jack Flaherty. I compare him a lot to Michael Wacha, where I thought the potential was sky high. I said, this guy is a no-doubt ace, and then he just fizzled out, and you can't fully give up on guys until they're gone, and you never know. I had a little bit of hope for, if you can remember the name, Mark Appel, when the Phillies signed him. So Mark Appel was the first-round pick of the Astros, first overall pick, just never panned out to anything. Phillies signed him. You just never know with a guy who has top talent, or at least had top talent, until they truly hang up and they're out of the league, because they were top prospects for a reason. You need the right coaching staff, the right atmosphere, the right talent around you, the right motivation. You never know what can happen. And that's what's happening with Michael Wacha right now.
Yeah, I can kind of dig it. And honestly, if he keeps up this pace for the rest of the season, and he's one of the big reasons why the Royals end up making it to the postseason and even going as far as they do, it would not shock me. You know? But I'm also keeping my guard up with, you know, guys like Michael Wacha. I think I actually even trust Sean Manaea a little more than I trust Michael Wacha, just because I don't see anything different in Michael Wacha's arsenal, or, you know, pitch mix, or I don't really see a lot other than maybe a slight drop in velocity, you know. But with Sean Manaea, he's actually like working on some things. He's actually like doing some stuff to try to make himself a better pitcher. Or maybe it's just the Royals pitching staff that found out a way to make him more effective. You know, maybe he's throwing these pitches the same amount that he has in previous seasons, but at different times, you know, did different type of pitch mix, you know, for each different at bat. So I don't know, but that was Michael Wacha. Now we're moving on to, so I actually, watching the game yesterday, they pronounced his name Bowden Francis. So I'm assuming that the announcers got it right, and it's actually Bowden, not Bowden, like I've been saying.
Potato.
Let's wait for him to actually say, you know, how he prefers to be called. Maybe he'll be on like Mookie Betts podcast or something. But he had 6 quality starts in a row, dropping his season ERA from 4.92 down to 3.50 during that stretch. He introduced a splitter this season. The splitter is like the big thing this year, dude. It seems like everyone's just throwing the splitter. And, you know, the one guy that comes to mind when I think of the splitter is the rookie, Dodgers rookie, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He made that pitch very famous back in Japan, and he came over to America, and it's translated very well, man. So Bowden has gradually increased the usage of his splitter from 7% back in April all the way up to 30% now in September, you know, and with good reason. In August, the batting average against on the splitter was 29. That's 0.29. That's not 209. That's 29. That is mind-blowing, dude, that someone could have a batting average against of 29. 0.29. And since he's introduced this new pitch, the curveball usage has actually dropped pretty drastically. Last season, Francis used his curveball 34% of the time, which bled through to the 2024 season, continuing to use it for 34% of the time in April. But that obviously was not in his best interest, seeing as Francis finished April with an 8.59 ERA before getting sent back down to AAA. Eventually made his way back up into the majors in June, and he looked amazing. Pitched most of the bullpen until August when he finally got another shot in the starting rotation, and he has been very impressive to say the least. Pre-All-Star break, while spending most of his time in the bullpen, Francis had an ERA of 5.82. Now, that's also including his blow-up April. Post-All-Star break, while starting 7 games, Francis has posted a 1.96 ERA. That is ace-level stuff, man. The Blue Jays seem to have cracked the code on Bowden Francis, adding just another pitcher on my fantasy radar for next season's drafts. Although I highly doubt I'll be able to snag him, especially after, almost completing a no-no twice in the last few weeks. There's never been another pitcher in history that has done it in the amount of time that Bowden Francis almost had a no-hitter, taking it into the 9th inning. And I know there's a lot of experts out there that don't really like Bowden Francis for next season. They think, he's just on one right now. And that may be true, but I also don't want to be the one to sleep on Bowden Francis in drafts next year.
You were the one that called Bowden Francis. Let's be very clear with that. And if anyone says otherwise, you can go back and check the tape. So Bowden Francis, I mean, he's kind of hit the scene. I'll say out of nowhere. Will's been calling it for a little bit here. Out of the bullpen, he's had some nasty stuff. I personally didn't think he'd be able to just transition quickly from a reliever to a starter. That's something that generally takes a lot of time to build up. But for him, I mean, he doesn't overpower anything. He is a pitcher, and I'm not going to throw Greg Maddux or anything like that at you, but he's got great movement. He's got a great arsenal, pitches between his four-seam fastball, split finger, curveball, slider, sinker. He's using that fastball, but he's placing it exactly where he wants to. So that's the real big difference. That split finger is nasty. So this isn't a fluke. I'm not going to tell you that, Bowden with no hitters by any means, but Bowden Francis is a legit pitcher, man. And he has ace level stuff. Is he ever going to become an ace? Probably not. But could he be a very reliable pitcher, maybe a 2-4 guy for you for a long time? Probably.
Yeah, I think he's like a solid, like in between like a number 2 and 3. Like you said, I don't think he's like an ace by any means. He's pitching like one now, but eventually he'll come back down to earth. It might just be like some momentum or, whatever's going on in Toronto, but hey, whatever he's doing is working. Now, I do want to mention during yesterday's game, I don't know if you saw this, but Sean Manaea actually tipped his cap to Bowden Francis after Francis was taken out of the game. And I actually have the video for that if you want to check that out real quick.
Roll it.
You have Bowden Francis right here saying, "Thank you, Sean Manaea." And Sean Manaea right there on the other side, tipping his cap, saying, "Hey, man, that was some great stuff. I was, checking you out every time I was sitting on the bench, waiting for my turn." And hey, both of them were battling it out, dude. He took a no-hitter into the 9th, ended up giving up a solo home run to Francisco Lindor, which just opened up the floodgates. Bowden Francis ended up getting taken out of that game with only 1 earned run, and then the Mets ended up scoring like 18 more runs after that. No, it wasn't really 18. It was more like 7 more earned runs after that. But they don't go to Bowden Francis. They go to the bullpen. So he still retains that ERA, that low ERA that we as fantasy managers are loving to see right now. So Bowden Francis, Adam. All right. So we talked about Sean Manaea and Michael Wacha and Bowden Francis. So John, if you had to rank those 3 in order of like which one you would want to add, like top priority down to the bottom priority, who you got? 1, 2, and 3.
I would definitely go Bowden Francis first, Michael Wacha second, and Manaea I'll go a distant third.
And I actually have Michael Wacha as a distant third. So well, we got some little competition right there. Maybe we should keep an eye on them in the next week or so and see who has the better week between both of them.
I'm actually going to keep Manaea on them.
Oh, dang. The dad jokes are here early before the baby's even here, man. I'm loving it. Because, I'm I'm the dad joke king over here. So I actually tell some dad jokes in my house, and I have an 18-year-old, and every time I say a dad joke, I always finish it with dad joke. And he's like, dude, you just killed it. It was funny until you said that. And I don't know. But I do that just to mess with him. You know, I do it on purpose. Like, bro, I know you hate it. That's why I end up saying dad joke after I say the dad joke. But all right. So let's go ahead and move on to waiver wire pitchers. And Matthew Boyd seems to be the number one added pitcher. What? Matthew Boyd? The guy that has like a career like 5-something ERA, spent most of his time in Detroit. So he's 33 years old. All right, I got a question for you, John. Mm-hmm. Matthew Boyd is 33 years old. Mm-hmm. He's in his 10th major league season. Never touted as a top prospect. Career ERA of 4.84. Career strikeout rate of 8.4 per 9. Never really been that good. So the question is, okay, Boyd has a 2.18 ERA and 6 starts this season. Is this man legit? Are you buying into the hype?
Not that much. I would like to see. When I think of Matt Boyd, the very first thing I kind of relate to is that season he had in 2021 with Detroit, and not the best record, 3-8, but a 3.89, and that's kind of where I see him falling. Is just a 3.89 ERA guy, just a 7.7 Ks per 9, solid. He's never going to be, he's never going to be an ace either. And you should never rely on a Matthew Boyd to be that guy. But this is what's great about fantasy baseball is you can pick up and ride that hot hand until it lets you down. And your new team, Cleveland's fighting to stay in the playoffs. And they're riding him. They're going to ride him until he dies. I actually wanted the Phillies to take a waiver on Matthew Boyd just to have him in the bullpen, but I'm glad for his sake because he's getting some actual good starting time here and good looks. So 6 games pitched, 2.18 ERA. I mean, he's not a 2.1 ERA guy in 33 innings. But it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, man.
It is fun to watch. It's like these little Cinderella stories of the guy that's never really been the guy, but all of a sudden he is the guy. It's like a movie. It's like a movie playing out in real life. So Matthew Boyd is there, top of the most added list. Are you adding Matthew Boyd to your roster, knowing that he pitched 6 innings against the Dodgers, allowing only 3 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 6 strikeouts? Now that's with Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman at the top of the order that day. And then he followed it up with the start against the White Sox, super inefficient, 4.1 innings, allowing 6 hits, 4 runs, only 1 of them earned, 2 walks, and 9 strikeouts on 97 pitches. 97 pitches in 4.1 innings. So after that second start, are you kind of like, maybe I shouldn't add him? Now he has to start next week versus the Twins and at St. Louis. So those 2 matchups, Twins could be a little tough for him. St. Louis, a little bit easier matchup. But seeing how he kind of labored through that second start against the White Sox, are you still looking at him to add as a 2-star pitcher for next week?
Absolutely. I mean, pitching's all right here. This is where every pitcher can turn on or off. It's just right here. So Dodgers, he's on. He knows what he's going up against, and he took a day off against the White Sox. I mean, 9 Ks is legit. That's going to give you that's going to bring up your pitch count quickly, but 4.1 innings, not what you want to see here. I think he's going to be more motivated on, heading into the final stretch of the season here against the Twins, against St. Louis, and he still has something to prove also for next year. So a 2-star pitcher against 2 solid teams, St. Louis, not as much, but, he's got something to prove, and he's hot. Great combo.
So Matthew Boyd, he's pretty well rested. He has less than 55 innings under his belt so far this season. But that's kind of the biggest reason why I don't trust Matthew Boyd right now, even after this great start against the Dodgers. He had a great start against the Dodgers. And all of a sudden I'm supposed to believe that in a 33-year-old that's never had an ERA under 3.89 as a starter since his major league call-up 9 years ago. Now his actual ERA is 2.20. Expected ERA is 3.01. Still great. It's almost a sub-3 ERA. Lowest walk rate of his career. His pitch mix and usage changed slightly, but nothing really like stands out. I don't know. I'm just not buying it, dude. As a streamer, sure, I'll go ahead and add him if he faces his old team, the Tigers, or the White Sox again, or the Angels. Any of the teams that I would start my grandmother against. But next week for the Twins and the Cardinals, I don't think I would add him for the Monday start, against the Twins. But if he has a pretty good outing against the Twins and he's still available against the Cardinals, I think I'd take him for that second start, but not for the whole week. I'm pretty sure that there's other guys on Monday or Tuesday that I would rather have instead of Matthew Boyd.
I hope you don't have a chance to add him, because that guy in that league who's going to add him for the 2 starts is going to be happy he did, or she did.
Well, I am actually out of fantasy playoffs completely. I got knocked out of the semifinals last week, so I am just sitting back and relaxing and enjoying watching fantasy baseball and just kind of like looking in the background. We actually do have our fan league that's almost over. We are in the championship this week. We have a couple teams that are battling it out for the championship. Now, there is no money involved, but the winner gets a pretty snazzy Real Talk Baseball Fantasy Champion jersey at the end. So that actually, I did want to bring it up to the winner of that league. I wanted to ask him, now, do you want a jersey? Or do you want like a wrestling championship belt that says fantasy champion on it? So I'm gonna give it up to him. Both are probably going to cost about the same, So I don't think money's really going to be the issue. But I do want to leave it up to them, and whatever he chooses. I think I might just be doing that every season from now on. Do you want a belt or do you want a jersey? And for me, I want the jersey, man. I want to be able to rock that like wherever I go. I don't think I'm going to take the 20-pound belt with me, if I'm going over to someone's draft. It's really cool, to have, but that means I have to carry a 20-pound belt around everywhere I go that day. So
like a badass, though.
Yeah, like a badass. Like I would totally do like The Rock and just like kind of wave it up and just, if you smell what I'm doing.
Dude, I would definitely take the belt. You just talked me into a belt over a jersey.
I mean, bro, you got like 50 jerseys in your closet, so.
And 0 belts.
So, all right. So, let's see. That was Matthew Boyd. All right. So, the next guy we got to talk about. All right. So, it's not often that we are gifted with a starting pitcher like Paul Skeens, but there's a name out there at the top of the most added list. Actually, he's second, right under Matthew Boyd. Should be first, in my opinion. And he's getting his first taste of the bigs today, which the game actually started about 5 minutes ago. And he is the number 2 prospect for the Rangers, Kumar Rocker, and is facing the Mariners today. Great matchup for his first start. Now, Kumar Rocker has the pedigree. In 2021, Kumar Rocker finished out his college career making 20 starts with a 2.73 ERA and a 9.34 WHIP. Under 1? That's great, dude. I'm loving what I'm seeing. 13.2 K per 9, striking out 179 batters in 122 innings. 2.9 walks per 9, walking only 39 batters all season. Rocker's making his major league debut today. Pretty soon, the Mariners game just started 4 minutes ago, as I just said. It's probably a little too late to add him now. Sorry for getting this out a little bit late. But, if he does stick in the rotation and he's available, he should line up to face the Blue Jays, the A's, and the Angels. So that's 4 great matchups for a prospect looking to make a name for himself. And if he's out there, dude, against the Blue Jays, the A's, and the Angels, I'm holding on to Kumar Rocker. And it's up to you if you want to start him or not. But if you have him in your lineup, that means no one else will. You can kind of steal him away, so that way no one else can get the points that you could potentially have, in your lineup if you decide not to start him.
How much do you really trust Rocker?
Well, the thing is, the injury concerns are pretty high. He's had the shoulder thing, he's had the elbow thing. So that's a little bit scary. But for the rest of this season, against those type of matchups and seeing how he's been able to get his pitch count pretty high in the minors the last few weeks, I think I'm all in on Kumar Rocker for the rest of this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the rest of the season, sure. I think it's a really nice audition to see what and who is Kumar Rocker. We'll get a good 4 starts out of him, it seems like. Maybe. And, I think they're going to keep him on some kind of leash. I don't think they're just going to let him go out there and throw 7-8 innings every time. But it'll be good to see what this guy is. I mean, when I hear Kumar Rocker, my very first thought, of course, is just him and Jack Leiter dominating that Vanderbilt. I mean, that was so much fun to watch in 2021. And I thought these two were just going to dominate the league. And Jack Leiter has been incredibly disappointing. And Kumar Rocker, I just remember he was originally drafted by the Mets, and they just never could sign him because of injuries. And it was just a really weird situation for this guy who was supposed to be just an unreal pitcher. And, maybe he's here now, maybe, but we're gonna find out what Kumar Rocker is. And, I'm with you. I mean, he's had a nice season in the minors, a 1.96 ERA. I mean, he's put it together this year, but, this is also coming off a 3.86 ERA last year in only 6 games. 2022, he only pitched 5 games. So are we really going to ask him to really, I mean, he's never started more than 6 games in the past couple of years. I mean, this year is the most he's pitched, and that was only 10 games. So who is Kumar Rocker, and what are we going to get out of him? We're about to find out.
Yeah, and I think there's always some type of trouble after pitchers have Tommy John surgery, especially if it's their first Tommy John surgery, because they don't really know how their elbow is going to react. I actually have a buddy of mine that's going to be on the show. He's going to come on as a guest in our off season and talk about his Tommy John surgery. He actually had to have 2 Tommy John surgeries before high school was even finished. So he was planning to go to college, and he was, trying to get scholarships, and then busted his arm, took a year off, came back in his very first bullpen session. It just ripped again. So it's a scary situation, for pitchers, but, hopefully Kumar Rocker had a really good surgeon, and they did a good job on his surgery, and he can come out and he can dominate like a lot of the expert thinks he's going to. They say that his slider is like Chris Sale's slider. It's just completely wipe out stuff that he can get a ton of swings and misses on, and a plus fastball that rides high in the zone at about 98 miles an hour. So I'm very interested to see, as soon as we get off in about 20 minutes here, I'm going to go catch the rest of the game. Dodgers aren't playing tonight, so I don't have to worry about, checking in on them. I'm just going to sit back, and I'll probably actually start the game from the beginning so I can watch like the entire game. I don't have to go to work tomorrow, so I'll stay up a little late tonight and get to enjoy watching some baseball. And hopefully Kumar Rocker will get a quality start and get a win tonight, his first major league win.
Open for you, Kumar. You deserve it, man. You worked your way back, so let's go get him.
All right, man. We're going to move on to must-add waiver wire hitters. So is there a hitter that you want to talk about, or should I go first?
Lead us off.
All right, so 3 weeks ago, I was telling everyone to add Jock Peterson. And, you can actually check out the video by clicking the link right above John's head that I will add as soon as our live is over. Since then, Christian Walker has returned to the Diamondbacks lineup, which caused a bit of a logjam at the DH spot. So Peterson has basically become what he's always been, and that's a platoon player. So now 2 weeks ago, when I found out Walker was returning, I said, drop Jock Peterson, add another hot hitter, and you can check out that video by clicking the new link that I'll post above John's head. And I will add that after the live is over as well. And that hitter is Pete Crow Armstrong, currently rostered in 57% of Yahoo leagues. Now, in the beginning of August, Pete Crow Armstrong was looking like he was going to get sent back down to the minors. But since August 1st, PCA was able to raise his batting average from 191 to 253. That's 52 points higher in less than a month. And his OPS went from 543 up to 683. And along the way, he also hit 5 home runs. He stole 6 bases in 7 attempts. He's got power. He's got speed. He can easily contribute to all your counting stats, making him a huge asset for your fantasy team. Now, the question is this just a hot streak for PCA, or are we ready to call this a breakout? His potential is league-winning production, and PCA, he has the pedigree. He could be that guy for you. So if you have any hitter that you can drop for Pete Crow Armstrong, if you have a struggling hitter, we're down in like the deepest part of fantasy baseball right now. So if there's a struggling hitter or a guy that's on the IL that you don't have in an IL spot and you've been waiting to see if he was coming back or not, and you've been kind of like debating to drop him, if Pete Crow Armstrong is there, drop that player, add Pete Crow Armstrong right now. I really feel like he's going to finish off this season strong. He's going to come into next season going to spring training. It won't even be an audition anymore. He's just going to be a fixture in that lineup now.
Yeah, not even just the hot bat. I mean, he's got 26 steals to add to that as well. I mean, Armstrong originally, and it's always funny to look back on trades. I did remember he was drafted by the Mets, and how he got his way to Chicago, and only to remember that Chicago traded away Javi Baez to the Mets in order to get Pete Crow Armstrong, which is just so fun, so really funny to look back in retrospect. So, Pete Crow Armstrong, has he made it? I think he's showing people what he can do for years to come. I think he's not here yet. I think he's showing flashes of what he can be. I'm not going to tell you he's here yet. I think he's going to continue to get better with his bat. I think he's going to try to find and get more comfortable in Chicago. And they're also going to see what that lineup looks like. Pete Crow Armstrong, if you do have that bat spot, if he is still available in your league, there's no reason not to have this guy. He's hot.
All right. And do you want to talk about our next hitter?
I'd like to talk about Mr. Tommy Edman, if you're okay.
Yeah, go for it.
So Tommy Edman, I don't want to say he's going to be diamond in the rough, but he does remind me a lot of one of your guys, Chris Taylor, from the 2017 added 288, 21 homers, 31 doubles, and 17 bases. So Tommy Edman's always been fantasy relevant. He's been in the mix. You can expect a 260 batting average, anywhere from 10 to 15 home runs. Around 30 stolen bases would be a good season for Tommy Edman, but his bat is hot as anybody else right now. Currently, a 5-game hitting streak. He is batting .325 since September 1st. He is – there's just enough to talk about here. Overall, the Dodgers' bats keep getting hotter. Tommy Edman caught fire, and this guy, if he's also available, I mean, he's decreased his ground ball rate by 12%, lining the ball, much better contact overall, increasing his fly ball rate. So that line is going to play for a lot more, balls in the gap versus ground balls, and that's going to help you score fantasy points. I do like, obviously, the Dodgers lineup, so that's going to help him get plenty of RBI. And Tommy Edman is a guy that, again, if available.
Yeah, I really like Tommy Edman, man. I feel like, I don't know, that the Cardinals organization for the past few seasons, I feel like it's just been kind of holding some guys back, and there's been guys like Tom that left the organization, go somewhere else, and then he does really well, and Tommy Edman might just be one of those other guys that goes to another organization and then just does really well. And how can you not when you're surrounded by so much talent, I just listed those names, Ohtani, Freeman, Mookie Betts, but don't forget you also have oh, yeah.
That was a genuine yawn, and it just felt right.
Honestly, though, it's like they have so many veterans, plus they have like the young talent to really get it done. Tommy Edman is just another veteran bat that comes in there who still might have a lot to learn himself, but I don't know. I feel like the build that he has, his batting average should be higher than what it is. He has like would you say 260 career batting average, something like that? I think if he, like with the right type of guidance, with the Dodgers guidance, Dodgers coaching, I think he can increase that batting average to about 280-ish every year and still keeping, the same pop that he has, about 15 home runs. And with these bigger bases now and the pitchers not being able to throw over more than twice, I think that's going to help increase his stolen bases total as well.
Yeah, and Tommy Edman, I mean, throughout his career, when he first came onto the scene in 2019 with St. Louis, I think they were expecting him to be more of the guy. In 2019, he hit 304, 11 homers, 36 RBI, 15 stolen bases, 850 OPS. I mean,
that's pretty damn good.
2021, he won a Gold Glove. So this guy is very talented. He just hasn't really been able to put it all together. A lot of that goes with the pressure of being not just a guy, but the guy. Out in Los Angeles, you can just be a guy.
Yeah.
He certainly doesn't have to be the guy. So when you don't have that kind of pressure and you can just play ball in beautiful weather, shit, I mean, I could probably play ball in that lineup. Not actually.
All right, guys. Well, that is the end of Real Talk Fantasy Baseball for today. We gave you a lot of information. We gave you some surging pitchers, some waiver wire pitchers, and some waiver wire hitters. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add, John?
I think let's keep focusing on if you're in a keeper league, think about who you're going to focus on keeping for next year. If you're still in it for the fantasy baseball playoffs and whether in your championships, your semifinals, keep an eye on some of these guys who you haven't been paying attention to all year, because these are the guys who could make just that little bit of difference for you right now.
All right. And if you would like to watch one of our other Real Talk shows, you can click the links below that will take you to our latest MLB news episode with Carla Baseball and Ernie Orange, and our Real Talk football podcast with hosts Rock Too Easy and KG. John, it's been a pleasure as always. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Peace.